Ruth Ann Stevens had 6 children with her polygamist husband.
Because they want everyone to believe that this is the picture of perfection, that these are the laws of God, that there's no fault here. People are so afraid to talk about anything that goes on. This whole concept that you can't live from your heart and soul.
Christine is just the most amazing, courageous person I know. She's been so incredible in my life. I love her so much, and I'm so excited for her.
Hey friends, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Tuesday, January 9th, 2024. Hope you all having a wonderful day. On the most recent episode of Sister Wives, Kody Brown got married. In the episode, we see her mom, Annie, and her dad, Rex, both at the same event. Now, they are no longer married and have not been married since Annie divorced Rex and left the world of the Apostolic United Brethren. And in the episode, you heard Annie say that she was not allowed to attend Christine's wedding due to the fact that she had left the church. It was also because Annie was involved in a group to help other women like her who needed help leaving polygamy. And that's what you saw in the very beginning of this episode, her involvement in a documentary called Personal Polygamy. The documentary featured all sides of polygamy, including the former prophet of the Apostolic United Brethren, Owen Allred. It also included a practicing polygamist, and it included Tapestry, which was an organization to help women with clothing and personal items that were leaving this world. So in this video, we'll talk a little bit about Annie and her journey, and we're also going to talk about how Kody and Robyn were spotted out in the wild in Phoenix at a mall, and apparently Kody was wearing the exact same suit, shirt, and necklace yesterday, or whatever day it was recently, and Robyn and he were there together. They were with their kids, and the photographs captured by a Redditor are kind of funny, I guess, if you're into funny. So this video will be a mix of, I hope you have a few laughs, and we're also going to talk a little bit more seriously. So let's dive into the topic. Before we do, can you do me a favor and give this video a thumbs up? Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and click on the bell so you never miss a video. Back in like the late 1980s, early 1990s, the Apostolic United Brethren was at this sort of crossroads because information was starting to come out about members of their church, brethren of their church, being involved in very questionable behaviors. Some of those behaviors included brethren misusing specific procedures in order to gain access to people physically. There were a couple brethren that were actually in trouble with the law and were arrested for doing things to children. And there was this ongoing fraud issue that occurred when Owen Allred and his group defrauded a woman named Virginia Hill and stole millions of dollars from her and hid the money in tin cans in the walls. I'm not even kidding. This is really what happened. And eventually purchased properties where they were going to build compounds for the group. Owen's lawsuit with Virginia Hill was a huge story. And in the late 1990s, the Kingstons made headlines because one of the daughters of the Kingstons fled the group and lobbed huge allegations against her father, claimed that she was married to her uncle, and one of the men actually went to trial and then to prison. So it was a very busy 1990s, and as women sort of started coming out into the forefront of leaving the world, they started forming groups, and one group was called Tapestry of Voices. Now, I've had the opportunity to speak to some of the founding members of this group, and the way that this group was depicted on the show by Kody and Christine when Annie moved in with them was that Annie had gotten involved in a quote unquote hate group, and that this hate group was existing to destroy and break up their family. And Kody believed that Annie was against his family and that she was not safe.
That my mom helped organize this group against plural marriage. There were several people that talked to us about how we should not associate with her anymore.
What was begun as a support group ended up becoming an antagonistic group. And they were making headlines in the news, making accusations of child marriages and child abuse. Just all the stereotypes were now being placed on us directly.
Not being safe in this family is akin to a woman wanting to help other women leave polygamy. Just marinate on that. Annie was involved with Tapestry in the very early days, and as Tapestry grew, what they became was a group that had provided clothing, shoes, personal items, and effects for women and even children that were leaving the world of polygamy. As they grew and they had more, I guess, pull politically, they started urging lawmakers to please start prosecuting what was happening in these polygamist sects. Now, I want to be clear that not every single person in these sects is doing bad things. You have to remember that even though it's an abhorrent way of life, there are some people in there that are just good people being led astray. And so they were not asking for lawmakers and law enforcement to go after the people that weren't doing anything wrong. They were asking for lawmakers and police to prosecute those that actually are doing things wrong, hurting children and hurting women. This was back in the 1990s and early 2000s. And it was at that point when they started urging more political action, more work from law enforcement, that Annie says she left the group because she felt like it was a quote unquote hate group. I would assume that Annie said a lot of these things simply because she didn't want to be disconnected from her family. And the more anti-polygamy you are, the more of an apostate you become and the less invited you are to events. The Apostolic United Brethren doesn't necessarily shun its members, but people that are very outspoken against polygamy are not their favorite people and generally not welcome and viewed as not safe. So if you can toe the line in this world where you can leave polygamy and be quiet about it, you might still be able to have access and contact with your family. If you leave polygamy and you start raising awareness and trying to get things to happen so that men are prosecuted, you can be shunned. Christine's mom gets involved with Tapestry, ends up leaving Tapestry. Tapestry ends up dissolving. There's been other organizations that have come in and filled in some of these spots, one being Holding Out Help, which is an organization that helps women, children, men, of all people that are interested in leaving polygamy. The organization offers not only clothing, food, counseling, services, they also offer safety plans and they offer safety housing, so safe houses for people that are fleeing these groups. And if you're wondering if Utah is still not properly prosecuting polygamy to this day, no, they're not. And I don't know if they ever will. The problem in Utah is that in my opinion, law enforcement and politics and the church, the LDS, are all intertwined. And so many people are Mormon or Latter-day Saint. And because of that, and because of a belief in their doctrine that polygamy will be practiced in the afterlife, some people will not go after polygamists because they say they would be they feel as though they would almost be attacking their own faith, because they would just view the people doing it on earth as just, they don't endorse it, but they're practicing their faith and they don't want to attack the beliefs. And by prosecuting polygamy, some people in this world feel like they would be prosecuting their own LDS faith. It's very twisted. So they have laws that say that they will charge and prosecute these men for these crimes, but they don't. It is decriminalized in that women can come forward without fear of getting prosecuted for it or getting a ticket for being in an infraction and not getting a felony. But under this law, they're also supposed to be prosecuting for the more heinous crimes, which they're simply not doing. Or if they are doing, it's very minimal. And they use excuses constantly of like, well, they don't have the bandwidth, they don't have enough police, they don't have enough jails, they don't have enough anything. So it's just turning a blind eye. And the problem is that there's children and women being harmed as a result of it. Okay? So Annie called Christine brave and courageous, but Annie was great, brave and courageous because it was her group and groups like hers that helped sort of lift the veil, quote unquote, on polygamy and expose it for what it was. And they stopped this propaganda machine. And Annie, in her clips, says that she lived in a lot of fear. There's a lot of, you can't say what's actually going on because what you're doing is supposed to be righteous for people, and it's the righteous way towards God. There's a lot of shame if you do have feelings because you're not supposed to have feelings because those feelings are not godly. There's a lot of fear about speaking out because of losing your families, losing your communities. They are told that if they leave, they will go to hell. And Annie said that she was terrified to leave because she felt like she would go to hell.
You can't imagine the high degree of secrecy. But I remember when I knew that I was going to be leaving, and it just terrified me because I am going to go to hell. I am choosing to go to hell, but my life is hell.
When Annie left the world of polygamy, she didn't have a television show. She didn't have a nest egg to fall back on. She just left. And the reason why Christine, Janelle, and Mary were able to leave so seamlessly, and I mean seamlessly, it wasn't without a fight by Kody, is because of the show. The show gave them a way out. It gave them a way to make money, and it gave them some level of support they wouldn't have had otherwise. And it gave them exposure to the real world. That isn't something that is accessible to everyone that leaves polygamy. Many people that leave have not been exposed to the real world, have been kept very isolated and want a way out. But learning about the real world is like, once they leave, they have to learn how to live in a whole new way of life. And even though Christine, Janelle, and Mary have left, and even though they had a show in the real world, all three of them are still unlearning and reacclimating to this world. And they will have to adjust. And Christine did point out she is still naive and she still is pretty sheltered. And that's a product of her upbringing. So Christine leaving and being the first to leave is courageous and it is brave. And I hope Christine continues to use her voice about the harms she experienced in polygamy. Next, Kody and Robyn were recently seen in Arizona at a mall. If Kody and Robyn are out, they're usually shopping at a mall. And apparently some eager and eagle-eyed fans saw them and snapped some photos. Kody and Robyn, throughout the last several months, have been spotted shopping at malls in Phoenix and in Scottsdale. And this person said that they saw them in Phoenix. And while they were shopping, ran into Kody and Robyn multiple times. And at one point actually was above on the second floor. And apparently Kody and Robyn were standing in line for a Ferris wheel with their daughter Ariella. Now, the person that saw them left many comments over on Reddit, and this comes from the Sister Wives subreddit. Now, I didn't go into the subreddit, but one of my followers sent me a screenshot, so I went to the post and took some screenshots, and the pictures are from there. And the Reddit user is Dolly Parton Me. So according to this person that saw Kody and Robyn, when they were just by themselves and when no one was looking and when they weren't interacting with any other fans, they said Kody appeared irritated. Kody and Robyn weren't really interacting very much. They weren't really talking to each other. They were sort of avoiding each other. They both didn't look happy with one another. She actually snapped a photo of Kody not looking happy. And then when fans came to ask for a photo, they smiled for cameras and were like super happy. So they turned it on in a dime. So one of the posts she took from above showed Kody's hairline. That's a level of petty that some people will go to, but it shows that Kody's hairline is definitely receding, and he is for sure hanging on to a couple hairs in the front. You know, it makes you wonder why he doesn't just shave his head. He could just embrace it and be like David, who's bald, who I think looks good bald, but what do I know? Anyways, so Kody and Robyn are there at the mall spending money with Ariella, and they said that Robyn was wearing tight leggings and knee-high black boots, which would not be typically what she would wear on the show. And Kody was wearing that blue blazer that he just wore last episode with his same necklace and the same shirt that he had on in the episode. I don't know if that's like his only outfit that isn't a plaid shirt, but who knows? Some of you said that he kind of looked like he was from like channeling Miami Vice, and I would say yes, except that it needs to be more neon. It's too muted for Miami Vice. Maybe this is like Mormon fundamentalists' version of Miami Vice, right? I don't know. Now, this grumpiness by Kody is sort of matched by what neighbors have told me. So I told you briefly yesterday that Kody's neighbors had contacted me and said that Kody has begun to get a reputation of being pretty aggravated and irritated and angry. And they said that they live a couple blocks away and that Kody has begun to have this reputation in their community of like yelling and screaming at kids. And kids have been in the neighborhood told not to go near the property because Kody has been known to scream at kids that approach the property. And it's weird because they live on this cul-de-sac. It's sort of like not really a cul-de-sac. It's like the end of the road. But right off their road are trails for hiking. And so people will frequently walk past their house because they're going to go hiking. And even that has become problematic for some neighbors. Kody has also become quite well known for, because of the yelling and the screaming and the erraticness, neighbors have said that they don't want their kids to go around him because he's also been pretty open about driving with firearms, allegedly. Now, it is an open carry state. I don't know what the laws are in the state of Arizona for driving with a weapon, but he's been known to bring them with him at all times. It's not against the law to have them, so it's not like he's breaking any laws, but not all neighbors are gun owners, so some people are finding pause with that. They said they hardly ever see Robyn, and they rarely ever see the kids outside playing. So whereas most of the kids in the neighborhood will all play together and go ride bikes and go on hikes and do different things outside, Ariella and Solomon are not really able to play with the kids, and because of Kody's anger and the way that he acts, nobody feels safe going to the house to actually see if the kids want to play. So Robyn is rarely ever seen leaving. The kids don't get to play with other kids. And they also said that Dayton is living in an RV on the property and that they had heard this rumor was happening last year. And so they walked past the house on a walk one day while they were with their dog and noticed that the RV was parked out there and it was on the driveway. They mentioned that this area is very cold because they have harsh winters because it's on the mountain. And so they can get a lot of snow and a lot of ice and it can be pretty cold out. And that the RV, even though it has heat, might not be really well winterized for Dayton. They just thought it was really sad that they had Dayton living out in an RV when he literally could just go get his own place. So they were kind of concerned about the living situations with Dayton, but he is an adult, so they can't really say anything about it. And then they also mentioned that the property is just littered with Kody's junk. Tons of cars and trailers and crap all over the property. So Kody is not the best neighbor, and Kody's apparently crabby when he's out in public, which again, I think I said it last year that someone that saw them out at Dayton's graduation ceremony or his award ceremony said Kody was crabby the whole time. So Kody is fake on camera and crabby in real life, and Kody and Robyn's relationship is kind of tense and messy. So Christine's mom is brave and courageous, and Kody has a messy hairline. Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Bye, guys.